Okay.
Good day, everybody. This is E. Marcel with the Sports Inquirer, and we're joined by Claire Moritz from Georgia Tech Women's Cross Country. Claire, thank you for joining us. I know you're in preparations for the ACC Championships, but before we get to that, how's the season been going so far for you and the Yellow Jackets as you've progressed through the past month or so?
So far it's been pretty good. I feel like I've had a pretty good season and the team is really coming together. I think, we're excited for ACCs coming up.
You just had the Penn State Invitational, Penn State National Open. The team placed second as a unit. You were fifth in that competition. What about that event, and how does that help you prepare for the ACC Championships?
I think getting second as a team really gives us some confidence going into ACCs. I know we were happy with how we did there. And from me, a personal standpoint, I was happy with fifth place. I started out pretty conservatively, which is kind of how I like to normally race, and just worked my way up. So we were happy with it.
You moved 11 spots in the final 1,200 meters. That is a very big jump. Was that the intention? You mentioned you wanted to start conservative and go fast. Was that did the race go how you wanted it to go, to have that fast kick at the end?
Yeah, I mean, I always kind of like to start out more conservatively. I just know I have a better race when I feel good at the end, and like I like to pass. I like to pass people as I'm moving through the race. And so passing 11 people at the end was a nice way to finish for sure. I think it's a fine balance of you don't want to go out too slow because then you kind of have a lot of people to pass. So I think maybe next time I'll get out a little harder, but I was overall happy with how it worked.
Do you think your experiences running in track and field, the 1,500 and the 3,000, and especially the steeplechase, which I want to get to a little bit later because that's such a unique race, but do you think your experiences running track and having to have late kicks in that final lap really helps you in cross country to have strong finishes?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, speed work, I feel like ties in a lot with having a strong finish in cross country, and we've been doing a lot of hill work as well, so I feel like that all really ties into having a good kick at the end.
Yeah, and how's the season just going back to last season and everything that was going on with the pandemic, and it was still going on, but just a lot different of a schedule, and the team was still able to qualify for NCAAs, finish the best ever finish for the program at the Nationals. You placed in the Nationals as well. What about last season and how you've tried to carry that over the cross country side of things into this year?
Yeah, I mean, I know last year it was a COVID season. I think for us, the only real changes were we didn't go to any like as far away meets. Like we always go to Penn State usually, and we didn't go last year. We kind of stayed closer to places we could drive to as opposed to flying. But last year, I know we had a great fall season, and like ACCs, we got second, and we were super excited about that, and like going to nationals. So I think coming into this year, we were just kind of trying to bring the momentum and just to continue with what we've been doing.
Yeah, and what about the roster? You're a veteran, you're a senior. Nicole Fegan, she's a senior as well, but you also have runners like Sarah Copeland, who's a freshman and doing very well. How's the makeup of the team, having veterans like yourself, but then also some younger runners that are trying to acclimate themselves to the collegiate game?
Honestly, it's kind of fun because like I know I don't feel like a senior now. It's weird to me to think of myself as a senior, but it's fun to have a very diverse, like I think we have every grade like in our top 7 or whatever. So like we have freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors all competing. And I think we have such a good team culture that like the seniors are showing the freshmen how it's done, and like kind of just, I guess showing them the way we do things here. So.
And how do you apply that or train as a team? Because the track and field is very individualized, but cross country, you're doing your own running, but still there's a team aspect to it. There's strategy as far as pacing yourselves and where you want to finish as a pack or be together as a group. How do you work on that as a unit in cross country?
I think in cross country, we just kind of have to go into the races and like think of it as like, so we work together in our workouts at practice, and we have certain workout groups that we have. And so I think we need to implement that into our racing. And like, I know at Penn State, me and a few other girls, we didn't really work together that much throughout the race. And I think that's something we need to work like to do better at ACCs. But yeah, working in the race together and like pushing each other as like we do in practice, I think that's really important to implement that into cross country races. And that's kind of how you like, yeah, run as a pack in the races. It really helps to push each other.
Yeah, are there points in a race while you mentioned you're trying to pace yourselves and start maybe conservatively? Do you know in before the race at hand with your teammates, maybe your fellow runner, she likes to start faster, or someone you may have to push the pace a little bit because one of your teammates may likes to start slower. Do you strategize like that, or is that something when the race starts, you kind of have to work on the fly?
A little bit of both, depending on the race. Yeah, I mean, certain races that like start out and they narrow pretty quickly, like we talk about it, like, okay, we need to kind of get out quickly because we don't want to get stuck behind a ton of people. And so in that case, like we are like talking about it beforehand and working together, like getting out together and kind of sticking together. But yeah, definitely we usually talk about it beforehand.
You're also decorated in track and field, particularly the steeplechase race. I'm always curious for athletes that pick unique races or competitions, and that's a unique one. When do you begin to even think about running that type of a race? Or is it something that was recommended to you when you were a younger runner? Or is it something that you saw when you were younger and you wanted to be involved in that because you're leaping over planks and into water, and it's just a very
Yeah.
unique race to actually be in. How did you get started with that?
Yeah. Well, actually, my dad ran in college and he ran the steeplechase. So I think that's kind of what made me consider it. I never really like, yeah, that made me consider it. And then I like tried it out my freshman year and I was like, oh, like this is kind of cool. And I liked it and I was like decently good at it. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. But it's definitely an interesting race.
Yeah, and because you're not running in a straight line like the other disciplines. And you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but do you find that physically the demand of that race kind of helps your stamina and your build through the other flat races and even cross country, which you mentioned is hilly?
Um, I think so. I mean, it teaches you to be tough because like it is a very hard race. It's yeah, there's a lot of things you have to like, it's not just running, there's hurdles and water jumps. Yeah. So I do think that helps with cross country. And I guess, yeah, I think it just helps me to be tougher when I race. And like when I'm racing like a non-steeple race, I'm like, oh, like I can do the steeple. Like this is like nothing compared to that. So yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned with the track season, how are you physically? Because last year it was just not a normal year for you. You had the cross country a little bit later, then you had the indoor season, and then going to outdoor. Were you just worn down by June with everything that was going on? And how are you physically now that we're in October?
Um, yeah, definitely the spring was a weird season. I know we were running a lot like longer training for longer distances because we had cross country nationals. Um, it was a long season, but after May, like we took time off and then I think over the summer we just really took it easy in the start and then just working with mileage. I'm feeling good as of right now. Like I'm not really feeling too tired yet. And then cross country is almost over. I feel like track is when the long season really is. But yeah, I mean, the summer we just really enjoy that time of like no school and just getting to run and focus on running. And so, yeah, I think we're feeling good.
Yeah, well, how do you handle training in the summer? I've spoken to other athletes. Do you run Piedmont Park? Do you go to Stone Mountain or Kennesaw Mountain? How did you just prepare this off season for cross country?
I actually went to Colorado this summer to train for about a month. And that was an awesome experience. Yeah, I've never done that before. And so I think that was a huge part of like where I'm at now and like had a big thing to do with like my fitness now. But yeah, I'm also not from Georgia, so usually over the summer I go home to Florida. I'm from Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, but there's always trails to run on, things like that.
Yeah. And now the team is preparing for the ACC meet. How are preparations going for that? And just overall, how well do you think the team can do?
Things are going really well so far. I mean, we're getting through the last few workouts before then we start resting up for ACCs. I know we're all really excited. I think the team has a really big opportunity to do well there. So yeah, we're just gonna do our best and see what happens.
Well, Claire, we appreciate the time. Thank you for speaking with us, and hopefully we can catch up later on at the end of the cross country or during the track season.
Of course, yeah. Thank you so much for this opportunity.